So that's how stars are born, right? This is how stars are born. It's not moving. Yes. And GenAI is a star, right? We recently did a global CEO survey to figure out what is the most trusted technology that CEOs rely on. We spoke to around 1,300 CEOs, out of which 130 were from India. And all of them said GenAI is the future because we believe GenAI is going to give us two things. One, it's going to bring in far more better revenue than what we are making today. And second, it is going to clean up our operations better. Right? And we didn't stop there. We said, okay, let's go one step further. Across the industry, tell us who's actually trying to invest in GenAI and what are they expecting. We saw that the industrial markets group said, please clean our inventory. Our days of inventory is growing. Our supply is fragmented. The demands are fluctuating. So how can GenAI actually help us on this phase? The pharma and healthcare said, we got loads of documentation because of growing regulatory. Our productivity is going down. Can GenAI actually help us in the space of personal productivity to bring in information extractors as the agents to help us move faster? The B2C focused companies like banking, financial services, TMT said, I'm okay with REST. Please help us with customer experience. Right? I want to bring in agents who can take care of my customers, who can bring them the experience that they need. Right? But while we have GenAI as a star, what makes a blockbuster? We asked them. Right? Now, this is a typical journey of how GenAI, right? And there's a lot of misconception today that you feed in a question to any of your LLMs and it'll give you everything. But the reality is quite different. For people who shift right, you will know reality is far tougher, right? You got to look at use cases. You're wanting your GenAI agents to generate code. You want them to generate content. You want them to extract information. Then you choose your LLMs. It could be LLMs, it could be SLMs. Then you find out what kind of data is required for you to move forward. Then you figure out how do you deploy. Then you figure out how do you ensure your models and the output of the models is secure. There's a lot of aspects on what makes GenAI successful. Right? So we went back to the CEO group and said, give me a list of top 8 problems you're facing today. And they said everything to do with, I don't know what use cases to begin with. I don't know which one of them will actually deliver great value. I actually don't know, how do I go about using my GenAI implementing, going beyond the pilots and the small POCs I continue to do. I actually don't know if my data is ready. I don't know how do I ensure that I bring in the right set of tech so that I don't have to be too accurate where I don't have to be, and I don't have to spend too much of cost where I can, save it. Right? So out of all the 8, we said we're going to look at top 4 of them and go in detail into each one of them. Right? We know this. GenAI should not be made a solution looking out, searching for a problem. That's what happened to Salman. Sultan was a super duper hit because there was a great star, there was a great compelling storyline. TubeLight was not. It had more budget, it had the same star, but it did not have a compelling enough use case, right? So how do we go about building in a set of compelling use cases? Now, we used this framework quite well, right? And what we realized is, out of all these top 8 parameters which decides how do you want to choose a use case, some of them stand out very, very, up. The first one is, are you ready to spend in the money to ensure you make the data available and trustable? Are you ready for it before you start a use case? The second aspect which is super important is, while economic value is important, what is the level of business impact you can drive from them? You don't want to pick a small use cases which does not scale beyond set of 100, 200 users. Right? That's how you maximize the impact. The third important aspect is, how deep is my generative accuracy? Do I want it to be too accurate, or I'm okay to live with reasonable accuracy for the kind of use cases I have to drive? Right? This is a misfortune. You got a great cast, all superstars. You got a superb storyline. Everybody can sell Rama any time of the day. You got great release, production house. But what it did not have is a great VFX. And that's what tech can do for you. If you don't have a compelling, thought through technology behind all your generative AI. 6 top decision criteria when you start building your generative AI. The first one is your data context. What kind of use cases you want to build? How are you going to get the data? Is it going to be application specific? You got to build data products. You're going to build in a fabric which can bring in all the data. The second aspect is, do I actually choose LLM over SLM on an edge device? How is my cost versus accuracy? Moving from 3.5 to 4.0 is a 16x increase in your cost. Do you have to do it? The third aspect is, how much of fine tuning do you want to do it, right? At the cost of impacting your latency. You also have to look at agents. You also have to look at evaluating performance. And at the end, how do I want to deploy? So that your cost of deployment and the value that you're going to deliver out of your deployment is useful. The fourth aspect is, a Gen AI without a right deployment model does not actually give you a great impact. Like, look at this, right? All folks from Nama Bangalore, I'm hoping you've seen this movie called Ugram long back. It was a small-scale movie, reasonably successful, but it did not stop there. The same director, with a very, very similar storyline, took this big bang. He decided that Karnataka is not my production deployment area. I want to make it big. He brought in a better cost. He brought in a bigger production house. He rolled this out worldwide. That is called Salar. Between 26 crore value returns to 700 crore return. That's the construct of what is your thought process on how well you want to deploy your generative AI use cases. We have seen 3 typical cases here, right? The first one is use cases which are personal productivity improvement, like the one that we see in some of our clients. A procurement set of folks who wants to use generative AI to extract contract information for them to ensure that they do their daily job very well. The second aspect is slightly more expansive. How do I fix a domain-related problem? Within the contract example, can I have agents which will give me contract leakages across all my contracts? Similar problem, but the domain and the impact is slightly higher. The third aspect is, can I use generative AI to actually generate preventive maintenance schedules for all my assets so that I continue to increase my MTBF across my asset lifecycle? That's the construct of how do you want to deploy, how much you want to scale with your generative AI. So as you scale further, your risks are higher and so is the value. This is also very important. We got great stars, right? You got Shah Rukh, you got Vijay, you got Alia Bhatt. But what happened is, across all these 3 movies, one of the major problems was all of them had piracy issues before they got released. So a generative AI without a tight security is like a movie which got leaked online even before it hit the theaters. And there are various factors that we look at, right? We went back to the CEOs, we asked them, what are their top problems with security from generative AI? We looked at data risk, data quality risk. We looked at ingestion errors on your prompt. We looked at regulatory uncertainty. You got Europe coming out with EU laws. You got America, California coming with their laws. We got Australia and Thailand, rolling out. So there's reasonable amount of regulatory pressure on how you want to use the outputs of the generative AI, right? And they said, what is paramount for us is not just the investment on the generative AI. It is also important to do a continuous control and measurement of your AI risk. Right? And this is a sample dashboard that is running with one of our clients. We looked at all the AI systems. We looked at what is the risk of somebody using the output for critical ask and how do we do it, right? So it's simple. Making a blockbuster is very, very simple. You got to have the right use case, compelling storyline. You got to have the right data set and deployment models. You got to have the right tech foundations, and you got to tighten your security, right? I've seen most of our clients do it. But there are others who don't do it. For all of them, that's the only way to succeed in generative AI. Thank you so much for your time.